Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of It Is Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is June the 22nd, 2025. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. We had a good Saturday night. We had a good Sunday. It's been a fun day. Let's see. I'll try to do a rundown as best I can. We'll start with Sunday. Woke up. Drove. I woke up late enough in the morning. At the homie's house to be like, all right, we're just gonna head straight to the store. So I went from partying, hanging out to just straight to Kroger. Got my little groceries, which was nice that the grocery bill wasn't too crazy today. We like that. We love that. Um, then getting my groceries put up, I pretty much conk out for a few hours, which makes sense, given, we've been pretty active this whole week, and I felt very active over the past, 24 hours. So I wasn't surprised that, I slept a few hours at my friend's house, and I slept a few more hours at home. I think, maybe up to, 4 hours. So I'll take it. It was good to get some rest in. Uh, Woke up, then we went to the gym. Gym was pretty good. We had another heavy lift session. Obviously, back being a concern. Still a bit of pain, but not nearly as much as it was in the middle of the week. So we'll take it. Overall, the exercises felt good. Just did skip a couple just because I, got a little too gassed, but I'm okay with that. It's one of those things, you're not always going to have a perfect session, and that's okay. But felt good on the overall, so we'll take that. Um, Post that, now we're here. We're yapping it up. About to talk about some news. About to talk about some serious stuff, as is tradition. But we can run it back. Sunday night, or not Sunday night, Saturday night. How'd that go? It was fun. It was a blast. It was one of our friends' birthdays, so that was already exciting, just right off the top. But then also, a few of my friends were performing at our pretty much our favorite dive bar. So it was really exciting to kind of come in knowing that it's all right, cool, we're about to have a really good time. Plus someone came in from out of town. One of the homies came out of town just to celebrate. They brought cake, and y'all know I love some free cake. So that was exciting. I'm already primed up. So we start at the friends. We're kicking out homies, and the food for the night. So we can just kind of roll into the food corner. Was tacos, and it was so yummy. They had two different kinds of meat. I can't remember off the top of my head what they were, but they were both very yummy. A full spread of all the accoutrement, like the pico de gallo, the guacamole, the cream of fresca, all kinds of stuff. The whole spread, cheese, you name it. Got that on the table. Excuse me. There was churro pastries with chocolate that you could add on, chocolate or Nutella kind of sauce kind of situation, and then also this cherry stuff, cherry kind of jam sauce, something. It was really yummy. There were margaritas. Oh, and y'all know I love a good margarita, so I had at least a couple of those. Which inevitably one of them was a grapefruit one too. So I was like, ooh, both were very good, very yummy, very heavy, and y'all know I love a good strong pour. Um, Had some chips with some hot salsa. It was wonderful. I unhinged my jaw and inhaled all the food. I it even got to the point too. There was also some corn as well. Which, thinking about it, I saw someone put on some sauce and stuff like that. More or less just make some elote, and I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. I was just too busy wolfing down food. I felt like Kirby. But at one point, we ate all the meat. I mean, I got to be real. I ate most of that meat. Um, and then I was making a pepper corn salsa, kind of just everything but the meat taco. Oh man, it was all so yummy. So filled up on food. Um, Went out, saw the farm, saw the homies perform. It was a vibe. I think at one point I ate a random hot dog at the bar that came through. Like there was just like a tray of hot dogs, and I'm like, let's go, let's eat it. And it was good. It was a hot dog. Thanks for the glizzy. Then we got back, made it back again to HQ, and closed out the night food wise with breakfast burritos that a homie had made at the like top of her day, and I was like, clutch. They were so yummy. They were so good, dude. Like it was so much good food. I was well fed. Well fed. Which I would say is any of the snack that I is today is that I ate so much food last night that I'm like, a bit slow, a bit, dare I say, farty, a little gassy. But it's been a good day. I've had a really good time. Oh, also from the store, random, but I got some what are they called? Almonds, but they're coconut coated. Very yummy. I'm a fan of both of those things. I like a coconut. I like an almond. So yeah, it was fun. It was a good turnout. I got to see a lot of people. Got to hang out with a lot of friends. So yeah, I was in a good mood. I was in good spirits the whole night. So yeah, that's a good wrap up for the weekend, my personal news and whatnot. We can go ahead and do our startup, and we can get into some news. How's that sound? Like I alluded to, there is some big news afoot. All right. Our first story comes from The Independent. U.S. bombs 3 nuclear sites in Iran. Trump hails very successful strikes as he enters Iran-Israel crisis. President Donald Trump has announced that the U.S. has bombed 3 nuclear sites in Iran, ending days of speculation over whether he'd order American forces to join Israel's week old campaign to knock out Tehran's nuclear weapons program by ordering long range bombers with a surprise attack aimed at bringing Iranian officials back to the negotiating table. We have completed our very successful attack on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. The president wrote on Truth Social. All planes are now outside of Iranian airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordow. Fordow and Natanz both house uranium enrichment centers, while Isfahan is. Oh, did he misspell that in his social post? I just kind of noticed that from the quote to this. Isfahan is where Iran is believed to be keeping near bomb grade enriched uranium. The Fordow fuel enrichment plant is buried deep underground, heavily fortified, and expected to contain 2,700 centrifuges, which are essential for uranium enrichment. So it was very key, I think, for the Israeli plan. I think when they launched this whole campaign of like, hey, these nuclear talks are kind of stalling with America. They're talking. We don't want this at all anyway, so we're just gonna go ahead and just say pedal to the metal. We're gonna run it, and we're just gonna start bombing them. We're gonna just start hitting them up, and this is all going to work in our favor if we can just convince Trump along the way to be complicit, not just like allow us to do this, but actually help us, get rid of this problem. At least as Israel sees it. And it seems like he's more or less won Trump over, and we did drop the bomb because they didn't have the capability to hit the sites the way that they needed to, especially Fordow. They needed the U.S. to actually say, hey, we're going to bring in our big bombs and we're going to drop them on this thing, and that should be able to do the trick. Now, granted, we don't know that. I mean, this is kind of, I guess, a big, I guess you could say, test experiment to see if this is going to work. If it will be done in one shot, or is this going to be taking multiple bombing runs, which some people are kind of suspecting it might, but we'll see, kind of after everything settles and everything. But this is a big deal because now it's not just us being complicit and like providing the stuff. It's like, oh no, we are actively getting involved. This is something that, is definitely going to have repercussions. Iran has already fired missiles into Israel. I think injuring, 28 people last time I checked. And then I know just infrastructure and stuff getting hit in like Tel Aviv. There are, U.S. soldiers in bases that potentially could get hit by Iran. Iran has said, yes, this is going to be, like, this is on y'all. Like, we are coming at y'all. This is an everlasting thing. You shouldn't have done this. So, I mean, we will see what the fallout's going to be post this. But let me go ahead and read more of Trump's. I think this is a quote from his True Social. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors, Trump added. This is not another military in the there is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention on this matter. I love that you bomb the shit out of a motherfucker and then go, yeah, now it's time for peace. Now it's time for chill, bro. Let's like kick our shit back and relax. Like, no, dude, that's not how this works. And motherfuckers know how this is gonna go, but they're like, no, this is fine. Like, I think we are in the right in terms of trying to run this. Like, I think that is the Trump administration's perspective on this. They're like, okay, sure, there's gonna be people who are mad at us, but if we can't get the deal that we want, which is essentially, at least from Trump's perspective at this point, we want them to stop doing any and all nuclear enrichment. So if we can't get that, let's just fucking blow it up. Let's just fucking blow this shit up because we have the momentum to do it. They are not strong enough to actually stop us. Why shouldn't we? So I think that's essentially the narrative or the thoughts that they're kind of running off of at this point. Let me read this highlight portion I have here. At least 657 people have been killed in Iran, with another 2,037 wounded, the Associated Press reports, citing the nonprofit human rights activists. Let's see here. Was there anything else I really wanted to pull? Like I said, there are definitely, like, this is not something that everyone's okay with. It's also worth noting too that this was something that Trump had decided that we're just gonna do. He let very few people know. Definitely forewent a lot of proper channels and protocols and just said, no, fuck it, we're just gonna run this. I don't know if there's gonna be any real repercussions for that at all. I know AOC is like, yeah, this is like an impeachable offense. I don't think that there's enough people that you can corral to actually make that matter. And I mean, this is a president that has been technically impeached, I think like what, 1-2 times or some shit. That didn't do anything to this guy. So, when are they going to drop the bomb? Oh, and another thing that's worth noting too, because it's not just this time that he's done this. I didn't notice it until people started bringing it up. But he had said, oh, in 2 weeks, I'm gonna come to a conclusion on this matter in 2 weeks. And in this regard, it's like whether or not we are going to actually, drop a bomb, get more military involved into this conflict. He said 2 weeks, and pretty much within, 24, 48 hours of saying that statement, if I'm not mistaken, he did this plan. But apparently this isn't the first time he's done that. There's been 2 or 3 other instances where he's like, yeah, I'm going to come to a conclusion on this matter in about 2 weeks. And he comes to a conclusion much sooner than that. But he kind of just likes to just throw that vague blanket out there and then act on it within that time frame. Usually, like I said, much sooner than to the 2 weeks. But yeah, I mean, whatever. I guess that's part of the old art of the deal or whatever. I'm sure there's more to talk about on this matter. I'm sure we'll be coming back to it as this is an ongoing conflict. And like I said, Iran is already, retaliating. So, I'm sure we'll be back to this for sure. But there are more stories I wanted to cover, so let's go ahead and move along. Let's go ahead and mosey. From the BBC. Suabai. That's not a word. Suicide bombing at Damascus church kills 22. Syrian authorities say. At least 22 people have been killed and 63 others wounded in a suicide bomb attack at a church in Damascus. Syria's health ministry has said. A man opened fire with a weapon at the Greek Orthodox Church of the Prophet Elias in the Duella neighborhood during a service Sunday evening before detonating an explosive vest, according to the Interior Ministry. It said the attacker was affiliated with the jihadist group Islamic State, or IS. There was no immediate claim from the group itself. Photos and videos from inside the church showed a heavily damaged altar, pews covered in broken glass, and blood spattered across the walls. I was going to use one of those for the thumbnail, and I was like, maybe not. Maybe I don't want to, cause a problem on the social media. So we didn't use that, but we did get a shot of the church, post the situation. Anyway, witness Lawrence Mamari told AFP news agency that someone entered the church from outside carrying a weapon and began shooting. Excuse me. People tried to stop him before he blew himself up. Another man who was in a nearby shop said he heard gunfire followed by an explosion that sent glass flying. We saw a fire in the church and the remains of wooden benches thrown all the way to the entrance, Ziad said. It was the first such attack in Damascus since Islamist-led rebel forces overthrew Bashar al-Assad in December, ending 13 years of devastating civil war. The Greek Orthodox Parachitate, which I don't know why I cannot pronounce that, but hey, of Antioch, said in a statement, "The treacherous hand of evil struck this evening, claiming our lives among the lives of our loved ones who fell today as martyrs during the evening divine liturgy. According to initial information, the bomb blast occurred at the entrance to the church, resulting in the deaths of people who were both inside the building and in the immediate vicinity," he had added. The patriarchy, I don't know why I can't fucking say patriarchate, whatever, anywho, called upon Syria's interim authorities to assume full responsibility for what has happened and continues to happen in terms of violation against the sanctity of churches and to ensure the protection of all citizens. Interior Minister Anas Khatib said specialized teams from his ministry have begun investigating the circumstances of what he called reprehensible crime. These terrorist acts will not stop the efforts of the Syrian state in achieving civil peace, he added. The Office of UN Special Envoy for Syria, Geir Peterson, condemned the attack and urged Syrians to unite in rejecting terrorism, extremism, incitement, and the targeting of any community. Skip ahead a little bit here. Actually, no, we can more or less wrap up here. They kind of go back into some, history and things of that nature. Obviously, Syria has been going through it a lot. Lately, we've been covering it a lot, hitting it a lot. But, sadly, and I guess in a way, this kind of dovetails with the next story that we are going to be covering. There is just a lot of unrest, and, other religious places winds up becoming, very big targets. And I'm trying to think here. Now we're just going to smash segue here. From CNN, suspect shot and killed by a security guard after shooting at a megachurch in Michigan. A gunman opened fire during a service at a suburban Detroit church on Sunday, wounding one person before he was shot and killed by a security guard, police said. The shooting happened at Cross Point Community Church in Wayne, a city of about 17,000 people outside Detroit, around 11 a.m. The church pastor, Bobby Kelly Jr., told the Detroit News. Police said one person was shot in the leg. Kelly said a church member ran the suspect over with his truck, giving the security guard time to shoot him. Police described the suspect as a 31-year-old white male. The person who was shot in the leg was a security guard, the pastor told the newspaper. No one else was hurt. About 150 people were attending the service, Kelly said. Messages left by the Associated Press on Sunday with the Wayne. Oh, that's related to the article. My bad. But yeah, I'm kind of just smashing these two together just to be like, I mean, hey, and this is a coincidence. It just kind of happens that this kind of lines up for my news time feed. But yeah, like it's sad, it's chaotic, the shit that's happening in Syria, and I mean, you can point a lot of fingers to the people in power and da 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 da. They got to do better. Sure, 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 sure. I think all places got to do better. You think about America, we've talked about in so many ways how we need to fix our gun problems and things of that nature and really address some actual issues so that this stuff is easier to deal with. But I mean, we're not. We're just kind of be like, oh, another thing happened. Glad that it was just the gunman who was killed in this situation and not other people. And you kind of just have to say, well, that's what it is. Silver linings, cut your losses. But yeah, I mean, sadly, these things are going to happen and they're going to keep happening. But, hopefully we don't cover them as much. That's the hope. That's the goal, I guess, when we cover these things. I don't know. Let's see. Let's go ahead and cover one more story before I close it out. Let's take our last break and we'll call it a day. Ooh, it is officially hot. Hot, hot, hot. I begged for weather like this. I really can't complain. Like this year especially, I don't think I can complain. You know what I mean? Oh boy. I will say, make sure you're hydrated. Make sure you're staying cool. Try to stay as shady as you can. I know in a lot of places, probably right now, at least in America, heat advisory is definitely a thing. Mm. So yeah, it's looking like we're finally dealing with a hot summer. Anyway, let's go ahead and close this thing out. From the Sacramento Bee, 6 dead, 2 missing after boat capsizes on Lake Tahoe near DL Bliss State Park. 6 people died, 2 were hospitalized, and 2 others remain missing after a 27-foot boat capsized Saturday afternoon on Lake Tahoe near DL Bliss State Park, the U.S. Coast Guard said. The vessel, a gold Chris Craft carrying 10 people, overturned about 3 p.m. just off Rubicon Point amid high winds and rough waters, according to local authorities who responded. A large swell contributed to capsizing, according to Coast Guard officials. 2 survivors were taken to a hospital for treatment, said Petty Officer First Class Lumania Stewart, a Coast Guard spokesperson. Authorities said multiple people had called 911 after seeing 10 people in the water not far from Lester Beach. SouthTahoeNow.com reported that a seasonal lifeguard and ranger also saw boaters in the water and were able to bring 2 ashore. The lifeguard and another person had to be pulled from the water by the Coast Guard boat that responded. Tragically, 6 deceased adults were recovered from the water, the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office said in a statement. At this time, 2 individuals remain unaccounted for. It remained unclear whether any of the boaters were wearing life jackets at the time. Let's see. I think they're going to be using like sonar to try to find the missing 2 boaters. Let's see here. Conditions on the lake were harsh at the time with 30-knot winds and 6 to 8 foot swells. The air temperature plummeted from 52 degrees to 38 in a matter of minutes amid the fast-moving storm, according to National Weather Service data. Officials are only an hour before were called to another water rescue on the lake about 7 miles north of Rubicon Point. Storm clouds rolled across the High Sierra Lake, and conditions quickly deteriorated, according to other emergency agencies. Photos and videos from South Tahoe now showed squally, I like that word, squally conditions, and several boats piled up or turned over at piers. including Camp Richardson and Tahoe Keys. So yeah, they had to kind of deal with a double whammy there, and sad that it kind of I don't know, there's no kind of about it, but it added up into a loss of life in terms of the situation that initially brought us here by the Sacramento Bee. But yeah, sadly there were no good stories today. Being honest, they're all pretty sad in their own way, and so it goes. But we do what we can. You try to have good ones in your own personal life, and you hope that you hear some good news along the way. But yeah, that's where we'll leave it for today. No shilling. It's Sunday, so thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend, and hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye bye. Mwah.